Uh, Good afternoon, friends. I hope you all can hear me. Today, Builders of India, under their Housing and RERA committee, called a webinar on real estate scenario, present and future. I welcome our chief guest, President of Builders of India, Mr. N.U. Mohan. I also today welcome our keynote speaker, icon of the industry, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. I also welcome all the colleagues of BI and the members of industry for their joining this important webinar. Friends, today, if you observe, after demonetization, cash parking of the cash parking in the industry has gone away. After RERA, lot of investors have gone away. After GST, lot of check and balance on all the real estate transaction have gone multiple. There is a big mismatch between demand and supply, and over and above, there is a COVID 2019, and now there is a de-migration of laborers has caused great damage and disruption, and parameters of the whole real estate industry has suddenly got changed. Today, we have invited a icon of the industry, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, who is taken very seriously by all central government authorities, state government authorities, RERA authorities, and all the industry, even the bankers. I felt it too fit to invite him as a keynote speaker to address few of the major issues our industry facing. I have, before he gives his keynote speech, I have just narrated few problems which I request him to definitely take into his account when he is addressing, apart from whatever otherwise he wants to guide and tell to the industry. I have classified the problem of the industry in the three categories: problem faced by Mumbai, problem faced by Maharashtra state, and problem faced state, all the state and the nation as a whole. And I feel first Mumbai, just because you are a Mumbaiker and I am also Mumbaiker, so I felt it is. Last 25 years, Dr. Niranjan, you will observe that the slum rehabilitation scheme is going on without any audit, without any direction, and still people are not getting house, and people are still waiting to their house, and nothing is happening. On the contrary, scheme is becoming to encourage more slum than actually removing the slum. The scheme is becoming an example to other cities to create more slum than the removing the slum. I need your take in the matter. Similarly, I find in Mumbai, this every year in the month of July, August, few buildings falls. Out of these 16,000 dilapidated buildings, CM and the minister goes, feels sorry about it. Next day, paper also makes a note of it, and then house it. There is no force of law. There is no force of law on the owners of the property. There is no force of law on the tenants. There is no check and balance on even the authorities. Why it is happening and what is the corrective action. When I come to Maharashtra, I find as per the Maharashtra RERA website, around more than 5,000 buildings, there is no activities in last 4 years. You will find, you can call them as a standstill projects without any activities, and the home buyers are running here and there, but not finding their home. Developer is also unable to do anything because probably he is having problems, cash problems and other problems. I find even the government of Maharashtra realistic RR rate is unrealistic, which is making a bigger problem than so many other things. Government is silent partner in all the projects of government of Maharashtra by way of development charges, by premium on FSI, and property tax, and so even the stamp duty and other things. But industry is running so badly, but there is no movement on the part of government. Though government wants to be partner in every project, they are contributing at least 35 to 40%, but without getting contribution in the actual venture of the business. They want to be partner only in profit and not when the market is in a bad condition and when the industry is suffering heavily. I find a lot of announcement. They announce 80-20 scheme from Mahara, but nothing is happening. No Mahara scheme is coming up on this scheme. I also observe when I talk about India level, I find many projects stalled on account of cash crunch, no sale. I find more than 50% account of builders are either NPA or having a various kind of difficulties, unable to get any further loan. Even all banks, though government of finance ministry declared so many announcements, but practically, particularly my all BI members, they are finding it absolutely difficult to get any finance from the bank as they have become another government department. Friends, even I find the approval of the project. Government have been talking regularly about various one window systems, even that they could not create a 3 window, 1 window for central government, 1 window for state government, 1 window for even local self-government. And even today, the problem of environment, civilization, defense, NGT continues to hold. And as against that, RERA has been given a lot of authority that they can sue builder, they can pass this order, that order, but without having an authority to control these approving authorities. In the circumstances, Dr. Niranjan, we would like to know as an industry player, what is the future of real estate industry in the country? How are we going to have housing for all by 2022 as announced by our Honorable Prime Minister? Friends, Dr. Niranjan, just take a 2-minute breath to think, apply your mind before you just start your keynote address. Meanwhile, I would like to request our chief guest of today's function, Dr. M.U. Mohan, to give his inaugural speech, short inaugural speech. I hand over, I start the proceeding further. Mr. M.U. Mohan, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all. At the outset, let me appreciate the remarkable energy of our Shri Anand Gupta, who was our Honorable General Secretary for more than 2 terms and now the Chairperson of Housing and RERA Committee of BI. Mr. Anand Gupta regularly conducts workshops and conferences of the topic of housing, and I am proud to have him as the committee chairman. Friends, I am very happy to address you today as President of BI and Chief Guest of the Conference on Indian Real Estate Scenario, Present and Future, organized by Shri Anand Gupta under the banner of his Committee Housing and RERA. I am sure you all will agree with me that due to the introduction of RERA in housing sector, the sector has been streamlined to a greater extent, and as on today, it is functioning as a disciplined industry. The consumers are a happy lot as there is a certainty of getting the project completed within the time frame with assured quality. I am also happy to note that in Maharashtra, the government has reduced the stamp duty with retrospective effect, and this provocative steps of the state government is an eye-opener to other state governments too. I hope this move of this government will increase the demand of the housing stock, and this will propel the housing sector to greater heights. Friends, today's keynote speaker is Shri Niranjan Hiranandani, who is known as to all of over India as an expert on housing and real estate sector. I am sure I will also be enlightened by his insight of the housing industry, and he will certainly touch the future of the industry in terms of supply and demand. Friends, I think this is a good initiative on the part of Shri Anand Gupta, and the presentation would provide a balanced picture of the housing scenario in the country, which could enable the players of the sector to move accordingly. I once again thank Mr. Anand Gupta for inviting me to this conference, and wish you all the best. Please be safe and stay home. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, may I request? Thank you, President. May I request our co-chairman, Mr. Mr. R. Murugan from Trivandrum, to just make a short introduction of our icon, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani.
Presiding officer, am I audible?
Yeah.
R. Murugan.
Yeah.
Presiding officer, Presiding office of this webinar, my good friend, Mr. Anand Gupta, Chairman of the Housing and RERA Committee of Builders Association of India. Beloved National President and my good friend, Shri Mohan. Most respected Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, today's keynote speaker. My colleague builders, good afternoon. The duty assigned to me is to present before you today's keynote speaker, and I deem it a great privilege. In fact, he doesn't need an introduction, as the world famous Forbes magazine has listed him as top Indian rich real estate developer. However, for the decorum of this webinar, I will briefly outline his profile. Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani is the son of famous Padma Bhushan honored E&A specialist Dr. L.H. Hiranandani. He had his schooling in Mumbai, graduated with a Bachelor of Commerce degree honors with a distinction of standing second in Mumbai University. He then took FCA from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and secured doctorate in Housing Revolution in India, Challenges and Prospects. He is known as a man responsible for changing the skyline of Mumbai with the delivery of landmark project Hiranandani Gardens in Powai, Mumbai. His company pioneered the concept of developing mixed-use integrated township model with vibrant community living. The group under his leadership set new benchmarks in terms of quality construction, precision engineering, technology, innovation, timely delivery, and holistic development. The group has diversified into education, healthcare, hospitality, infrastructure, entertainment, and organized retail. With his profound knowledge, sharp business acumen, he has been conferred with a leadership role across various prominent business organizations. Currently, he spearheads as a national president of National Real Estate Development Council, president of Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry, advisor of the Real Estate Committee of FICCI, member of the RERA Conciliation Cell of Maharashtra RERA, board member of National Skill Development Corporation, and advisor in ever so many other trade bodies. He is a trustee of 14 colleges, 6 schools, 2 hospitals, and 2 temples. With his few words, I present before you the father figure of Indian housing industry, highly respected gentleman who practices what he preaches, a philanthropist and a role model to all of us. Here, before all of you, I present most respected Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, our keynote speaker. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murugan. It's very, very kind of you to give such explicit words. Thank you very much, Mr. Anand Gupta, for inviting me here today. It's my pleasure and privilege to be here with you today. I'm also a member of BAI, so I belong to you also. And also the fact that you are the real builders of India, really. The real estate is a part of what they consider builders, but the way the contracting industry has done, the entire building of India in terms of infrastructure and buildings is really done by the building contractors and people like you and your association people, which have done humongous tasks in the last so many years. And thank you very much to Dr. Mohan. My best wishes to you and to the entire BAI and all the membership that you have over here and otherwise.
Thank you, sir.
It is the undying truth that no country in the entire world has ever been able to do a double-digit growth of GDP unless it has not given emphasis on infrastructure, construction, and housing. So if you look at any of the countries of the world where double-digit GDP growth has been done, it has been done by those countries in those periods of time where construction, infrastructure development, and others have been at its zenith. So whether it has been China with extensive infrastructure growth and others which took place, including housing segment that took place, or it was Dubai, or it was Hong Kong, or it was Singapore, the period in which they had to do infrastructure work was the time when the growth has been double-digit GDP. If India has to grow, if the people of India have to prosper, if the unemployment problem has to be sorted out, the issues in relating to construction and real estate must be sorted out. Roti, kapda, makan. We have been able to give roti and we have been able to give kapda to most of the people of our country. But when it comes to makan, we have been grievously languishing. And this is a lacuna which we really need to fit. 50% of what Mr. Anand Gupta rightly pointed out are still in jhopatpattis and housing. Unnecessarily, even we have the pride of place or the shame of place of having the largest slum in Asia, which is the Dharavi slum. And for dozens of times, this matter was taken up by various governments. And even last week, as late as last week, the tender has been scrapped. I'm not for or against the scrapping of the center of the tender. That is a privilege of the government to do. But the point is that it means that they will have to go through the process again, which means the redevelopment of Dharavi is going to be further postponed. So I think what is reality to be done is that if the government and me at NAREDCO, me at Co-Chairmen, have represented to the Prime Minister, to the Finance Minister, to the Housing Minister and Commerce Minister in specific and the Governor Reserve Bank, that unless you don't give directly and indirectly a fillip to the real estate and construction industry, the country is not going to progress at the pace at which our Prime Minister wants, namely wanting to reach a $5 trillion economy. So the first flag off for the BAI is to flag off the issue that if the Prime Minister does want to reach 5 trillion, which we all want to do, it is necessary to give an additional fillip to real estate and to the construction industry. And this has been our prime momentum, which we have carried through in the discussions that we have had both at the central government level and at the state government level. So this has been our prime focus. The second part of the question that has been posed to me is the issue of finance and the problems that we face with the banking and other industry. We have represented on behalf of NAREDCO and Co-Chairmen again, I'm sure BAI is also represented to the government, of the problems that face the industry, especially post, as Anand Gupta correctly said, the various crises which have been taking place, right from the time of demonetization, RERA requirements of 70% to be escrowed, and also the fact that ILFS went into a crisis and now the COVID story. Fortunately, we represented and the Reserve Bank of India governor finally agreed after many representations, including personal meetings on website, on the videos, that he agreed that they will do a one-time rollover in terms of all the credit facilities which are there. But he appointed Mr. K.V. Kamath as chairman of a committee to decide the sectors and the sectoral issues which are to be done. The newspapers have reported that Mr. Kamath has submitted the report in which construction and real estate is those one part of the sector which will get the benefit of this one-time rollover, and hence all these proposals will be handled by the banks and financial institutions, which will help us to get those who have got ongoing schemes or projects to get a one-time rollover from the banks. And that is good news for the industry, that those problems which existed now, which are existing today, whether due to COVID or before due to other exigencies of the marketplace, both will now be sorted out in terms of the existing problems which are facing with the banking industry. So my best wishes on that front, and I'm hopeful that the report, Mr. K.V. Kamath's report, is likely to be accepted in another 1 or 2 days. So you may be a possibility of approaching the banks and financial institutions in order to get a redressal for those which are there. The other aspect of the financial part has been represented by us, but we haven't received the solutions as yet, which is actually the credit availability to be enhanced both by banks and by NBFCs. We have also pointed out that the NBFCs post ILFS is in difficulty and we need help on both these sectors. Fortunately, NBFCs have been very much supported both by the 20 lakh crores benefit which was given. A part of the funds was given to support the NBFCs also and the MSME sector. So these two sectors were specially prioritized, and this is going to be definitely useful to us because when the funds become available to the NBFCs, it will be possible for building industry, contracting industry also to get additional funds into the whole thing. The other aspect of it we have not yet resolved, which is the newer fundings that we require in the contracting industry. As much as we would have liked those to be liberalized by the banking sector, no directions have been issued in this regard. However, we have represented to Mr. Nitin Gadkari, the road ministry, in order to see that some directions are given for the purposes of those who are taking up contractual assignments. But I'm not aware about the detail of the progress of that matter with the banking and financial sector in the system that holds forth. But I'm hopeful that maybe in a couple of weeks, we will also be able to handle that situation, and some good news may come on that side, though the banking industry had given some idea direction of giving an additional amount of 20% more than the existing funds in order to face the pandemic situation. However, I don't think the banks are actually following those suggestions, and so they are not actually getting implemented in the manner in which we would have expected this to happen. So what is the good news? As has been correctly mentioned by Dr. Mohan, the first thing is that we were able to convince the state government at Maharashtra that we needed some respite in terms of the taxation levies which are there in the real estate industry. We have asked for various things to be done. One was the reduction of stamp duty, which they have been kind enough to honor completely. We had asked for reduction from 5 to 2.5%. They have done 2% and 3% in order to incentivize people to do the transactions within the next 4 months, and then 3% in terms of for the period of January to March 2021. So this was the first direction which we received on the demand side of the real estate industry. We have also asked for certain reliefs to be coming in the real estate industry in terms of development charges, land under construction, and the additional FSI, which is now being levied by the municipal corporation, as well as by the state government, as well as conversion charges, conversion from industrial to residential, and the other act. It is our expectation that those charges will also get rationalized in the near future, and some of the payments will be back-ended instead of being front-ended, which means you may not have to pay the entirety of the amount in the beginning of the project, and it will be there at the end of the project. Now, both our illustrious leaders of PA I have mentioned about the problems which are there in the industry. This was specially mentioned by Mr. Anand Gupta about the Swami funds which have taken. It was because of our representation to the government, to the housing ministry, the finance ministry, and of course RBI, that the Swami fund was created. 25,000 crores was raised, of which 10,000 crores is being invested by the central government. So this 25, which is being managed by the State Bank of India. This was somewhere in October, November of last year. However, over a period of time, the number of stuck projects throughout the country have increased manifoldly, and of course compounded the situation after the COVID crisis. Now, what has happened is that the requirement has exceeded and come up to 1,50,000 crores to provide last mile funding. However, we don't need any subsidy from the central government. We've been able to convince banks, financial institutions that they are willing to raise the funds, and even foreign funds are ready to invest the money in our market for the purposes analogous to the Swami Fund. So I'm hopeful that an announcement should soon be made that the government is approving other people to set up funds on the line of Swami funds in order to cater to the last mile funding of projects which are stuck all over the country. I'm extremely bullish on that account. However, until the government does not decide and unless it does not give the permission, we are still at quandary on that issue. On the question of slums, which was raised by Mr. Gupta, the issue is far more complicated. It is complicated because the slum policy, which was drafted almost 18, 20 years ago, I happen to be a member of that committee, which chairmanship was with Mr. Afzal Purkar. And the concept was really in order to see that the rehabilitation should finish in the period of 5 to 10 years. And that was the concept through which it was done. However, the processes that came into place and the intervention of various people at the grassroots level and authority became extremely dilatory and could not really survive and succeed. It is my view that the SRA policy needs to be totally revamped and the entire funding mechanism needs to be restructured, because under the existing market conditions, it's extremely difficult for anybody to take up any new projects whatsoever. In fact, I'm worried about the projects which are ongoing and how we will really be able to find a methodology to get this off the ground. I don't have a quick fix solution to answer you, but certainly we will work together in order to propose to the government various changes that are needed in order to make such a policy effective. Because otherwise, very small pockets of development in high-priced areas will get developed, but the majority of the areas which require large investments as well as large-scale development are not likely to take place. And unless we don't have large-scale development, it is not going to really work. On the other hand, let us talk about the good side of the MMR region. Since Mr. Anand Gupta specifically required that I should make a mention of that, I would like to do that also. The first and foremost point is in the last 5 years, we have had several projects have started in the Mumbai region. First and the best project I would consider is the metro project. We had recommended to the erstwhile government at that time 200 kilometers of metro in Mumbai region. I'm pleased to tell you that the government took up 300 kilometers of metro, of which 150 kilometers are already working on, and contracts have already been given in terms of acquisition of land, construction of these projects. Contracts have been awarded, and even other problems relating to the first underground metro are getting sorted out. The second project, of course, was the Cross Harbour project, which is operational with 3 contracts which have been given connecting this. And of course, the tie-up of roads on both sides of the Cross Harbour Bridge are not yet awarded, which I hope will get awarded very soon, so that the connectivity will complete and the east-west connectivity in Mumbai also will be done. The fourth project is the Navi Mumbai private airport at Navi Mumbai, which is taken off and which now today I read, yesterday I read in the papers, has been taken over by Adani's. So we expect that that will also get restarted and start contracts awarded and become operational. The fourth part of it is the Western Coastal Road, which is a major thing. And the sixth one is the Pinjal River project, which is a very large project which will bring 24/7 water to Mumbai city. So you will get 24/7 water for Mumbai once that project is completed. Just now that water flows into the sea, which is a waste every year, so it can come to Mumbai city. And of course, the RORO connectivity to Alibag is started. This entire projects total amount to 3 lakh crores, all these projects. And just for your information, from independence till 5 years ago, the total investment of central government and state government in projects in the MMR region have not exceeded 30,000 crores, while this time the projects are of almost 3 lakh crores, and already 70% of the funding of these projects have already been fixed up. So the contractors of these projects would be benefited, and the subcontractors of the projects would also be benefited, because the funding is going to be made available over there. So that's a positive trolley that needs to be taken up in terms of the project. We have, of course, represented to the government that one of the points again raised by Mr. Gupta is the ready-reckoner rate, which needs to be rationalized, because the income tax otherwise charges you, if you reduce the rate of it, price of flats, which is being asked by Deepak Parekh and Piyush Goyal, and affordable housing by the Prime Minister, it cannot be done, because otherwise you will have to pay 35% tax by the buyer extra below the ready-reckoner rate and the seller. Both, that means you will pay a 70% penalty on the valuation of difference when it's more than 10% of the ready-reckoner rate. So this is the kind of directions that we are seeing in terms of it, where there are positive directions in terms of infrastructure. Of course, the best news in the country is, of course, a person called Mr. Nitin Gadkari, and the amount of work that he is doing in terms of the national roads and other matters which are doing at that level. He has taken up the whole thing. I just hold it for just half a second.
Sir, unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear, sir.
I got a call from a minister, which is my next appointment. Are you coming? I said. So, nevertheless, so what was I saying? Sorry, I was talking about the ready-reckoner rate, I think.
Nitin Gadkari.
Sorry, Mr. Gadkari, of course. He's my guru. He's my godfather in terms of saying that he's one of the exception persons. We in India are very proud. We in Maharashtra are very proud of him, and we also hope that may he keep good health and live long. People like him make a paradigm of India happen, and we are really happy with the extent that he's doing. My last information that I got is that they are adding 35 kilometers of national highway per day in terms of the planning and work and execution has been done. So I'm extremely happy and proud, because that really will be a base of the infrastructure of India. And I think there is a great future in the segment that we are talking about. There are also going to be lots of progress. Of course, this COVID has created a lot of backlog. So the defense industry, ports, national highways, state highways, connectivity. Unfortunately, with this COVID situation, all this has taken a great setback. As far as our construction labor are concerned, we are down to about 33% of what we had. So when we started, we had about 2/3 of them went away back, but now they are slowly returning. I'm sure you are having a similar experience, and you all are contractors all over India. But cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Mumbai region are much more affected than the rest of India because of the flagration of the COVID situation and the lockdowns which have taken place in these cities are certainly going to be extremely difficult to handle. Virar, Dombivli and all these areas, they couldn't afford a house in Mumbai. And they are staying in those houses far away. While the poorest of poor and the richer people lived in the city side, because either they could buy the flat there, or they were so poor that they got jhopatpattis and now they're getting houses free of cost. But it's the middle class and the lower middle class who shifted to the extensive suburbs, who are negatively affected with the locking down of the railways. And it is our representation that those must also be opened up and all that. As far as MATA is concerned, that you mentioned, the minister is very proactive, and I'm very hopeful that in the next couple of days, you will get some results as far as MATA is concerned. The minister has told me personally, and I believe he has made several announcements on doing things. I do hope that he will be able to really do it. So what you're saying, and the question on what is the future look like? Well, the future, according to me, is extremely bright. However, the brightness is not there now because we are in the tunnel. When you are in the tunnel and the tunnel is curved, you can't see the end of the tunnel because we don't know when the whole thing is becoming bright. Two things are not yet happened. One, we have not found the vaccine. The second, we don't know when the second wave will come. Now, there is a good possibility of a second wave to come because we have a huge population which is stratified. Stratified in the sense we have an urban and rural population. As the urban population is getting treated and taken care of, this is slowly going into the rural areas, and those will come back into the urban areas. So when it comes back to the urban areas and the population returns, we may have a second wave of this thing. So vaccine, one, will solve the problem. Number two, the herd mentality of the entire operation should get over by March of 2021. So irrespective of what happens, number one, whether a vaccine comes or not, if it comes, obviously things will be sorted out earlier. If it doesn't come, it is my guesstimate. I haven't heard it yet from anybody else. But since I also run hospitals, I also speak to doctors, I also speak to enterologists. My opinion is, which is not the final opinion, because you will have to hear it from some other persons who are more qualified to give such an opinion. It is my belief that the maximum period that it will run will be up to March of next year. So we have to manage to see that our operations are put back to normal. The good news is many of the industries all over the country have already gone back to normal. For instance, I was speaking to Jindals, they are up to 90% operations. I was talking to other companies like Welspun, which do exports. Their 100% orders were cancelled in March. They are now restored to almost 90% of the orders and 75 to 80% production. So that itself is indication that many of the segments are already back to operation and lots of things are happening. The local shutdowns, which the local people were doing, has now been banned, in the sense local authorities cannot prevent people from coming up and down. My son is putting up a pipeline project in terms of natural gas, and they were having a lot of difficulty in getting manpower into Ratnagiri and other areas. Now, from today or tomorrow or 7th, I believe, this is now getting fully opened out. So they will be able to move whatever manpower, specialized manpower is required to complete the operations of this project will now be available. So the long and short of it is my belief that if the projects are continuously pushed into operations, the Prime Minister's project for housing for all and affordable housing takes off, which means 1.1 crore houses will be done. Obviously, there will be some delays in that, but it is coming. The Housing Ministry and Finance Ministry have already approved 3% subvention for all Prime Minister Awas project, a PMAY project, and 60,000 crores worth of projects have been approved. So that's a huge amount of thing. Those are not benefiting Mumbai city or Delhi city, but rest of the country, certainly this housing is coming up and is being done. What is not happening? The belief that ease of doing business is happening in India is not happening at the grassroots level. And that is a very sad plight of most people who are in real estate or those who are in the contracting industry. We are still affected by that, though it has improved. I cannot say that it has not improved. The World Bank ranking has improved. An effort of a top-down effort has taken place, and there is definitely an improvement in the situation even on the grassroots level, but lots more needs to be done. Labor reforms have to be done. If we want to compete with China and do a make in India and what the Prime Minister wants, there is no other way. Labor reforms will have to be, because the flexibility to be able to take more labor, similar to what happens in the contracting industry, has to take place in the industrial sector also. So I do believe that the future is going to be good, but construction, infrastructure, real estate will have to be the backbone of it if the Prime Minister wants to achieve $5 trillion economy. There is no other option, or a double-digit growth in GDP ultimately, maybe a year from now. The only way you can do it is to see that construction, real estate projects have to be done. I don't know if some of you are aware, but I'm sure some of you are, that the autobahns of Germany were not constructed for cars. They were constructed to give employment to people during the depressions in Germany. So that's how the autobahns got constructed. So in order to see that Germany's employment, which was down, would take care. So a lot of things and infrastructure needed to be done in cities to be done. In many of the cities in the world where development took place, I've seen Singapore, I've seen China, a large amount of infrastructure is completed before the projects of housing come into the area. So whether it is road, whether it is suburban rail, whether it is highways, whether it is connectivity, whether it's water, whether it's sewerage, whether it's police station, whether it's hospitals, all come up front. But in India, it's not like that. The development takes place, then the road gets connected, then the water comes, there is no sewerage, many times there are no lights available, and then the development comes. I think this needs to be reversed. All these things are happening, but we have to remember that a lot of change has already taken place in India. The Prime Minister shows great leadership, and I'm extremely proud of him. The way he acts, the kind of firmness with which he can move is really exemplary. What we really need to do is to see that down the line, we actually execute, both in the private sector and the government sector, actually follow a paradigm of change that is required to be done. Why is change required to be done? Because that's the only way that we can possibly make this country different. And I think we need to think of it. Small things and big things both need to be changed. Take, for example, Mumbai city. Do you know that in Mumbai, I have two projects, major projects, Powai and Thane. We recycle 4 million liters of water every day and convert it and reuse the water both in Powai, each in Powai 4 million liters, Thane for 4 million liters. The whole city of Mumbai does not process 8 million liters of water. So you can imagine, we are using fresh water for gardens, we are using fresh water for race course, we are using fresh water for even places which are there. While all the dirt which we are, without filtering properly, is going into the sea. So that is the kind of change which we need to do. So it's not one thing that we need to focus on. A lot needs to be done, but there is great hope that the construction sector will continue to have a lot of work. If the $5 trillion economy has to come, construction will be having a great future. Real estate too has to have housing for all. There's only one difference in the housing sector, which I point out to my friends. In the year 2019, 10,500 Mercedes Benzes were sold. 9,000 plus BMWs were sold. But 1.7 million Marutis were sold. So the country must learn to make a profit after constructing Marutis. I mean, housing for affordable segments, and still make a profit. While the real estate sector, because of the high price of land, the cost of development charges, the high cost of stamp duty and other taxes, cannot make affordable houses in urban areas like Mumbai and Delhi. So there needs to be a structural change to take place in order to see that affordable housing can be made in every area of the country, so that the housing for all objective and the needs and satisfaction of the people of our country is also met. And also that the construction sector, which has a fantabulous future in terms of what is going to happen with India, with the $5 trillion economy, I think BAI holds a big role along with its members to create that paradigm of India, so that you can be proud to say that you're not the contractors, you are the builders of India. And I wish you very, very well. If you have any questions, I'm there for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then I have another meeting to go. So I'm very happy to answer any questions. If you still have, I've tried to answer some of the points. I may not have covered each and every point which Mr. Gupta raised, but I've tried to see that giving an overall picture, I've also included in my points, many of the points or most of the points I tried to cover, which you mentioned in your introductory speech.
Thank you, Dr. Niranjan. It was a nice presentation and a very nice view from your point. Dr. Niranjan, just I was before our head communication start question answer. I was just thinking you are an experienced person in Mumbai and have seen SRA, how it has been going on. You have also seen what are the problems of the development. Don't you feel the time has come to stop all those things and give all work to contractors, the members of Builders of India, who are actually experienced people, and make a time-bound, enforceable contract on time, and that is going to go, because a lot of experiment research have all failed in that 25 years, 30 years is a long period. Don't you feel that your expert opinion on this will count us a lot?
Yeah, so I don't know yet that BA has given any such proposal to government up till now. What you really need to do is to provide solutions. You can't say, give me a contract, give me a contract, give me a contract. Nobody's going to give you anything. What you need to do is to provide a holistic solution to a problem. So you can say maybe this much area, you will clear it and you will develop the housing, and we have to work out a scheme by which the funding will be made available either through government authorities or to create an authority which brings the money. Because unless the money issue is not sorted out, it won't be done. So similar to what was being done in Dharavi, if we can work out a method by which the contractors could tie up in some way into getting these funds, whether banks, whether financial institution, whether the investor focus, and create models and projects of what you are suggesting, I get it approved. But we need a holistic solution. We can't only ask for something. So when you ask for something, you have to give something also back to society. So I'll be very happy to interact with the Builders Association of India to represent with you any such suggestion that you made, which is going to expedite this work. I'll be more than happy to do it. I'm a Mumbaikar. So for me, the faster you do it, the better it is to be done very quickly.
We'll definitely come out with some solution. Yeah, Mr. Madhu, please question.
Yeah. I'm taking Professor Vanwari from Bhagwan Polytechnic. 1 minute. Acha, we have Mr. Satish Nangakar from Mumbai Mirror. Sir, hope you don't. Mr. Satish Nangakar, please unmute yourself.
He's a dear friend of ours.
Yeah. Mr. Satish. Okay. Well, he is not there. Yeah. Sir, I read out the question instead of Mr. Professor Vanwar is asking how to bridge the gap between inventory and demand by genuine users.
There's two issues there. Inventory, if it is suitable in terms of quality, price, and location, then there is no end to the demand. Unfortunately, what has happened is there has been a mismatch in terms of the type and size of houses, then the pricing point at which it has been developed. No fault of any person, but the situation has created what it is. How do we really go and bring back that matching of the price, quality, specification, and being able to do it? So we'll have to reconstitute our entire future. One of the big difficulties which I have seen in the real estate industry is, if I'm building 3-bedroom flats, you also want to build 3-bedroom flats. So everybody tries to copy the Mercedes-Benz and the BMWs when they should be producing Marutis, because Marutis are very saleable and you can do turnover of millions and not in thousands. So what is really important is to actually do marketing research. When people launch a project, unfortunately, not enough marketing research is done to understand what is the demand for what size of flats and what budget of flats. So the future, the real estate developers, including myself, will have to study more carefully the market and then actually design and produce those products which can meet and fit the size and pocket of the consumer. Once that is done, there is unlimited demand which is there as far as the regions are concerned, especially in the Mumbai region.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lava from Cochin, he has asked, how do you see demand in Tier 3 cities in India, where large number of jobs are not being created? Tier 3 cities.
Very good question. The first and most important things of it all, and this is what a study has indicated, that unfortunately the growth of GDP in India is more extensive in the Tier 1 cities and some of the Tier 2 cities. So what has happened is that what you're saying is correct. We are not getting enough GDP growth in the Tier 3 cities. So what the Tier 3 cities need to do is to create a USP in terms of it. If I'm not mistaken, Kochi and its backwaters and other areas, which also has an international airport, really needs to pick up and do many things which will bring about it. The Kerala, the backwaters really bring in tourism, which it has had. Kochi itself has got those 5 islands which are now connected by those bridges. I was part of the consultants committee to design those bridges which have come up over there when I went and visited those places. And so what we really need to do is to see what is the business and opportunity that we can create. What is the services that we can grow? So can we do much more tourism? For example, a large number of Keralites actually are in the Middle East and other places. They could act as catalysts to create more tourism to come to Kerala, for example, and that could be grown. Are you aware that there are more tourists which go to Dubai than the whole of India? A small city-state of Dubai draws more tourists to their country than the whole of India. That includes Kashmir to Kanyakumari, which includes from Gujarat to West Bengal, which includes palace tourism and everything. So there is a huge opportunity, let's say, for tourism industry to increase tenfold as far as Kerala is concerned. A lot of manufacturing and other activities have been there in the past. We need to bring it back again, but you don't have the labor. The labor comes from north and other areas. So again, you will have to provide housing for the migrant labor and to take care of the laborers, or you'll have to get immigrant labor, which no state likes. So that's a problem that you will have to face. How do you get reasonably priced labor if you want to do industry? But I think tourism seems to be a very important factor which Kerala could pick up. And I think it would be a good thing to increase that and improve the infrastructure which caters to that industry. It will improve, the opportunities of contracting, and also the fact that infrastructure will help multiplier effect in the economy, because a lot of employment will come during the hospitality industry.
Thank you, sir. I'm taking on our National Secretary, Mr. Pradeep Nagvekar. So he's from Mumbai and he has a question to ask.
Namaskar,
Nagvekar,
sir. Yes, Niranjan, sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Sir, RERA authority has come up with a resolution plan for stall projects. My question to you is, what made our members to bring these projects to the stalled position, and how you are looking at?
I don't think anybody wants to bring anything to a stalled position. There are two ways by which a project gets stalled. One is the wrong conceptual projects where people have not understood how much money is required for the project. So a wrong expectation or an assessment that you don't need that much money as it is required. Number two, that you believe that your approval will come in 30 days and you know it takes 300 days or maybe 600 days to get an approval. So the combination of these facts become difficult. And if you have not done it, and if you have removed the people from the slums and given them rental accommodation and paying monthly rent, then your whole calculation goes wrong. So our difficulty, sir, Mr. Nagvekar, is very easy to say that people have wrong assessment of the project, whether it is capital requirement, time of getting up for getting the approval, or what are the issues which will come up during the time that you're dealing with the tenants or the other infrastructure that is required in terms of temporary housing of people. This assessment has gone wrong in most of the cases. Number two, over-optimistic expectation of sales is the other side, because the other side, the income is important if you want to run the projects. And even the biggest of biggest developers in Mumbai are now facing a huge crisis in terms of the change of the marketplace which has taken place, both in terms of sales as well as in terms of cash flow requirements. Many of them have restructured their companies. Some of them are going to further restructure the companies. But you're right. It is unfortunate that so many stalled projects are there. And we are hoping and working towards trying to make resolutions of some of them very difficult. And especially in the position today where the market is very, very slow, it is becoming more difficult. And we have lost credibility in the projects. So what happens is, when you lose credibility, izzat chale jati hai na, paisa nahi aata. If you don't have credibility, if you don't have a brand, if you don't have the credibility that you're going to complete the project or in time or within the money which you have, the problem is always gets compounded. That is the issue. So some of the projects will get resolved as the market comes up, but some will not get resolved. So I think there will be a lot of resolution in terms of taking over of these projects either by SRA or selling of the projects to other developers who are more financially able to handle the situation at this point of time. But also, they have to have realistic expectations of the market, even though persons who take over have to realistically think what it is. In some of the projects I've seen, huge investments have been made, 200, 300 crores. And today the value of that project is minus. Because if I take over the project, I will be taking over more liability than actually getting asset at this position.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, Gupta sir and Hiranandani sir, I think we will finish because there are many more questions. I think I'll send those questions to Dr. Hiranandani's office, and if you can send them, we can print in our journal. What do you say, Nagvekar sir? Nagvekar sir?
Yeah.
Because a lot many questions, sir has to go. Gupta sir, the floor is yours. Then you take it forward now.
Okay. May I request our friend Mr. Mahesh Mudda, who is the managing director and the chief executive officer of a renowned construction company, NCC, to give his concluding remark and then propose a vote of thanks. Mr. Mahesh.
Thank you, Anand, for this great honor to me. And I must thank our president, Mr. Mohan sir, for giving this opportunity to all our members to organize this kind of sessions. And my personal thanks to Anand for choosing the none other than Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani for this session. What a
My
fantastic
honor.
session, because time is a positive, because I can go on talking about whatever he has said, but then to put it in a nutshell, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani is such a positive personality, because whenever we hear to him or whenever we read about whatever his articles, he summarizes everything into such a positive manner. You get that energy. So that is why people always call you like a role model icon, sir. Well, not because of anything else. Because today's session also was so wonderful. Because you just said, because to summarize, because in a holistic way you put it, all the aspects, all the questions. You never criticize anybody, because you made one thing realize that I think there is nothing else but hard work, sincerity, dedication, credibility, honesty, which will crown us with the success, nothing else. I think you have put it very nicely. You said it because there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, nobody has to talk about gloom and doom. Pandemic situation will, because of course, it is very, very challenging situation. Whole country is going through. All the industries are suffering. Our industries definitely, because suffered, most are suffering. But as you rightly said, right thing at right time with the right place with the right people. I'm sure there will be always solution. We have great representation in the form of, because you or Dr. Mohan is there now. He's very, very active. And this pandemic, sir, just to tell you, this pandemic situation is helping in such a way. I don't think we ever had this kind of meetings. Today, for that matter, if we had to call you for one of this session to address our people, you would have said, no, I don't have time. But then with this situation, sitting at wherever our office or home, because we're finding time and, doing so, we are grateful to you for this such a wonderful, because very motivating, very inspiring, and very holistic, as I said, because you touched upon all the aspects. Because I'm very happy that because our Prime Minister is very active. Our Gadkari, as you rightly said, very, 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 because, inspiring and very motivating and was very helpful. And because our state government here today, because under the leadership of Mr. Uddhavji Thackeray, I think a lot of great things happening. We don't want to talk about any of the negativity, because it's going to help nobody, because we have to act ourselves. So I'm sure we'll take help of your position, your association. However, you are wearing many hats and you represent the fraternity, but then you are originally BI member, and we always call you, because you are part of us, and we are not going to leave you. We'll definitely take advantage of you being in that position with kind of experience, knowledge, your dedication, your pushing nature, because I always think, because we quietly observe you, because you are like, because guru of, because many of, because youngsters or people who are upcoming, because who talk about problems, I tell them, look at that gentleman. They faces all the odds of this world and they still come like flying, because so that is only because of your own dedication. So I'm very, very happy, Anand ji, because you chose Dr. Hiranandani as the speaker for this session. Sir, we are once again very grateful to you. You touched upon most of the subject. In fact, housing for all, as you rightly said. Let's not concentrate on Mercs or BMWs of this world. Let's concentrate on the question, because our country still needs huge housing. People are staying in very poor condition. So I think we all need to really, because introspect, look into seriously, take the advantage of this kind of session, and surely, sir, because we will always, whenever we have any problem, we are going to look upon you, trouble you, and we are right over you. So we'll definitely take advantage of it. So I'm very happy that because you found the time, and because given this kind of wonderful session. So without taking much of time, because you have another appointment, so I'm not qualified to really summarize your speech, to be very frank, but I'm trying to make, because that attempt, because this is so encouraging, because I was listening each and every word, and all the members also I'm saying, please take these kind of sessions very seriously, and because take the advantage, because it's open for all the questions and the answer, because, and I'm sure you will have the, without even thinking, with batting an idea, because you give the answer to all our big questions also. So let us take advantage of that, and because keep moving ahead in life. So once again, thank you to the President, thank you to Anand Gupta ji, thank you Mumbai Center, because Chairman and because all office bearers, and because thank you the back office, which has been doing, Dr. Sahab, because this is very heartening to share with you. Our office staff, we always used to think that, kuch to karte hai. But this 6 months have taught us, they are doing everything. we are really taking advantage of that, and they have been handling so wonderfully. Made because I think we have to make a habit of every session, because the ritual as praising Madhusudan and his team. They are doing outstanding job, seamless, flawless, and because we all are getting the advantage of it. So Anandji, once again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity and wonderful session. We have to do more of this and get the advantage for ourselves and the fraternity members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Friends, for the advantage of all the BI members, I would like to having a claim that Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani is also our Builders of India member. And our Shankabai has always been, claiming that we are having a lean on Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, particularly whenever any occasion comes when we have to deal at a very high level at a central government or state government. And we can always make good use of him. That is what I feel from this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Niranjan, for making this possible.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maheshji, for a very nice comment.
Anandji, बहुत अच्छा
I would like to share something. If you can spare me 2 minutes. President sir, I want to tell you also, some hackers had entered our meeting. Mohinder sir, unmute yourself and brief the members. I want to tell everybody, particularly President sir, I want to tell Rajujan if he is here. I would like to request Rajujan to unmute himself. I think I'll unmute. Hackers had entered our meeting room. They did that thing to that Amitabh Bachchan prayer. President sir.
Something was happening, correct?
President sir, can you unmute yourself? Mohinder, unmute President sir.
Yeah, just a minute.
So today's meeting should be a lesson to particularly a person like me. Please, everybody should have their names in the mobile. If they don't have the name, henceforth we will not admit them in the meeting. Mohinder sir, am I correct?
True. Very right.
President, now I want President sir to.
President is not there, I think so.
President sir is there. He's there.
In every meeting, we are giving these instructions, but our members
is Rajujan there? Rajujan is also not there. Anyway, today and see the chat box. The way they have played mischief with the chat box. I had to ultimately I have to stop the chat box. Only they can chat only with me, the host. This is wrong what they did with that Amitabh Bachchan thing, and they were playing mischief in the chat box. Many members were complaining what's going on.
But we can't find out. We can't find out.
No, I'll do that. I'll try to do that now.
It was the name of mobile names are there. So we tried to remove them. We have removed.
We removed them, but they were coming with different names again. Then we decided not to admit anybody at one given time.
Very stupid.
Naga sir, you are there, na?
Yes. I got you more. So we are giving instructions at every meeting to place the names of the
names should be there.
Yeah.
Naga sir, please, tomorrow we have a big meeting coming up, and this is a it was a learning process for me today. I am really I was tensed up. He did that thing to Amitabh Bachchan's prayer that they did. And nonsense. And they were playing in the chat box. They were giving they were using unparliamentary language.
Yes. Particularly one Mr. Bhadra, one.
They changed their names. That Bhadra, Zubin Lakadwala,
yes.
And some iPhone was there. So President Secretary sir, we have to have now something. We have to tell without names we will not admit. They have a proper name, Pradeep Nagvekar.
We are telling all these things to our members, but members are not taking it seriously. That is our
President sir. We are trying to unmute you, sir.
Is he there?
He is there. He is there. President is there. No, President sir. I wanted him to listen to this. What happened today?
Madhusudan ji. Yeah, Chandrakant here.
Tell me.
Yeah, I think we need to give the password limited.
One minute. President sir is there online. Sir.
Okay, yeah.
I am unmuting you, sir. We are. Mohinder, unmute, sir. President sir. We are unmuting you. Oh my God! We are from here. We are trying to ask. It is saying ask to unmute. It is saying ask to unmute. Now.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
See,
Your voice is audible.
tomorrow, what you do is, I think we will not open the chat box also tomorrow. If anyone want to talk, let them raise their hands in the app, and we will do that. And if anybody in tomorrow's meeting, everybody should be in their name and their center name also.
Nagvekar sir.
Yes, I noted that.
Member's name and center name.
Yeah. Compulsory. And no chat box tomorrow.
Yeah.
See, that is a disturbing one in the meeting.
Madhu, who is Mohan Badra and Jubin Lakhadwala?
Yes,
Mohan Badra. No, they are same, but there were two, three persons. Mohan Lakadwala, Zubin Lakadwala, Mohan Badra, and somebody was there. They were coming with different names. Fortunately for me, Chairman Mumbai Center and my Swapnil, they were with me as co-host and they were helping me in admitting people. Then we decided not to admit anybody. Even now we have not admitted Galaxy A30.
No, Madhu.
Tell me, sir.
If I mistake not, I have one group, I and AI. And there I see these names.
Anyway, sir, but...
No. But the way they have handled this thing is very objectionable.
That Amitabh Bachchan prayer, we started there. I was shocked how it is. Now I will inquire with my people who are expert how they do it.
Only as our president suggested, only raise hand option will be there in tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah.
So that
yes. Immediately we will. Raju John is not there in this now. You talk to him, sir. I will prepare the circular, email it, and we'll put on WhatsApp also.
Yes.
Oh my God! Today was shocking.
And we
And also he chatted in across language.
Chandrakant Raipat sir was suggesting something.
Yes, you allow him.
Because he is also a technical inclined guy. I think he told keep everybody in the waiting room and not to admit anybody who doesn't have a proper name and center.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Raipat sir, you have raised your hand. You speak, sir. Everybody is on unmute only.
Madhu.
Yeah, actually, what I was thinking, that chat box should be limited to sending the chats only to Madhu.
Host. Oh, yeah. Today I did that.
Only to the host.
Yeah.
So maybe if there is some important message, Madhu can take care of this.
Raipat sir, even for me, this is continuous learning process. It was the first time I encountered something like this.
Yeah. I also saw it for the first time. Yeah.
So in fact, they are using members' name to again rejoin.
Yeah.
And basically, these people entered because we had high-profile speaker. Anyway, I think I'll President sir, Secretary sir, Anand Gupta sir, Mahesh Mudha, shall I end it?
Yeah.
I'm Naga sir, ending.
Thanks for the good meeting.
Thanks.